Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are wading into, well, a truly thorny global issue. It's something that's fundamentally altered nearly every ecosystem on the planet: invasive species.
It really has. And our mission for you today, the listener, is to kind of move past just the horror stories, maybe, and
Hmm.
explore the deeper pattern. We want to understand how non-native species get introduced and then cause this um, overwhelming environmental or economic harm.
Right, because these invaders, they succeed because they have this phenomenal power to multiply, right? A terrifying capacity for rapid life cycle turnover.
Exactly. That's a key characteristic.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics here. When we talk about invasives, we are talking about a global problem that's, well, it's pretty much 100% attributable to human actions.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether that's lack of foresight or just outright carelessness or maybe just a sheer blunder, we basically created the pathways.
We open the doors. And what's crucial to grasp is the typical invader profile. These are species that adapt really easily to new environments. They reproduce incredibly quickly, that hyper-efficient reproductive rate you mentioned.
That power to multiply.
Yes. And they successfully outcompete native species. Often because those native species just haven't evolved the necessary defenses. Think of them as like biological generalists launched into environments full of specialists.
Okay, so we've structured this deep dive around three main ways we end up moving these agents of chaos around the globe. First, the sneaky stowaways.
Right, the accidental ones.
Then sort of human folly and accidental releases, things getting out when they shouldn't.
Carelessness, basically.
And finally, the one that really stings, the ill-advised, purposeful introductions. Where good intentions just go spectacularly wrong.
Before we jump into those, we should probably acknowledge something. These ecological battles, they can quickly become, well, political footballs. It happens all the time.
That's true. Like, if you follow the ongoing story of managing the invasive Asian carp population, they're using electronic trackers. Now you'll notice a split in how it's reported.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, sources that lean more left often really pinpoint the total cost, the huge expense of these control programs, while sources maybe more on the right tend to emphasize that complete eradication is, well, practically impossible.
Ah, okay. So the story isn't just about fish trackers. It's about how these massive, expensive ecological fights get tangled up in politics, which affects, prevention efforts, funding, everything.
Exactly. That context is vital. So, with that in mind, let's start with maybe the most common and, frankly, difficult to control pathway: the sneaky stowaways.
Hitching a ride.
Yep. These species get transported inadvertently, usually piggybacking on global commerce.
The Great Lakes region is kind of exhibit A here, isn't it? Thanks to the zebra mussel.
Oh, absolutely. Zebra mussels. They're native to the Black and Caspian Seas over in Eurasia. And they showed up in North America, probably attached to the hulls of ships back in the late 1980s.
And the mechanism is just modern shipping.
Pretty much. Ballast water is a big one. And ship hulls. They act like a perfect bypass system for natural geographic barriers.
Yeah.
Mountains, oceans, doesn't matter to a mussel on a boat.
And their impact, it's huge, right?
Foundational. They filter out essential algae. That algae is the base food source for tiny organisms. So when they strip that out, the entire native ecosystem, including the fish everyone cares about, basically starves from the bottom up.
And they're not just in the Great Lakes anymore.
Oh, no. They've spread through connected waterways. You can find them as far as Nevada, California, even Texas now.
Yeah.
And the problem is there's no really safe eradication method. I mean, you can't just poison an entire lake, right?
Right. So the best we can do is things like inspecting and maybe fumigating ships, trying to stop more from coming in.
That's the main strategy, yeah, prevention. We see that same mechanism, the stowaway on cargo, with the Asian longhorn beetle, a real tree killer.
Did that one get over?
It hitched a ride on infested wood, specifically wood used as packaging material like pallets or crates for cargo shipped to Canada in the 1990s.
And what do they do?
The females lay eggs, up to 100, in the bark of hardwood trees, think maple, poplar, willow. Then the larvae tunnel inside, cutting off the tree's vascular system. No water, no nutrients. The tree just dies.
Devastating, especially for places famous for maple trees. But hang on, there's actually a bit of good news here, isn't there?
There is. A vital success story, actually. The cities of Toronto and Mississauga, they managed to eradicate the beetles in their region. It took decades of really intensive coordinated work, but by summer 2020, they declared success.
Wow. Okay, so eradication is possible sometimes. That's important.
It is. It shows it can be done, though it's incredibly difficult and expensive. But now let's shift to a stowaway that makes the Asian beetle look like a minor inconvenience. We're
Uh-oh.
talking about probably the single most successful invasive mammal on Earth,
The
brown and black rats.
rats. Of course. Considered two of the world's worst invasive species.
And for good reason. They are unbelievably prolific. A single pair, if you just left them alone, could theoretically produce something like 1,500 offspring in just 1 year.
Good grief. 1,500.
It's staggering. And they thrive wherever humans thrive. They decimate ecosystems because they're omnivores. They eat absolutely everything. Birds, eggs, small mammals, plants, garbage, you name it.
This brings us to a really interesting point, kind of an aha moment, especially regarding costs and prevention. Alberta, Canada.
Right. The Alberta rat war. It's a remarkable exception. Alberta is the largest populated area on Earth that's officially rat-free.
How did they manage that?
Well, when rats were first discovered moving in from the east back in 1950, they acted fast. They passed laws making prevention the personal responsibility of every single person and municipality.
Really? Everyone had to be on watch.
Everyone. They set up a huge rat control zone, like 600 kilometers long and nearly 30 kilometers wide along the eastern border. Inspectors were hired. They used poisons like arsenic, even burned down infested buildings sometimes. It was serious business.
Wow. Aggressive? But did it work financially?
Massively. It's estimated that keeping rats out has saved the province something like $1 billion over the years. That's in avoided damages, livestock loss, even healthcare costs associated with rat-borne diseases.
$1 billion. So that Alberta story isn't just a cool fact. It's proof that prevention isn't just an expense, it's a massive economic defense strategy.
Exactly. It fundamentally changes how we should view conservation spending. But back to the global shipping routes for a moment. Let's go down under Australia.
Okay. What's hitching a ride there?
The Northern Pacific Sea Star, again, larval stowaways, probably came in the ballast water of transport ships from Asia.
And I take it they're not welcome.
Hardly. They're considered one of the 10 most unwanted invasive marine species there. They just destroy natural habitats. Voracious appetite. And get this. What's truly terrifying is that once they've eaten absolutely everything else in sight, they turn on each other. They start cannibalizing their own kind.
Ugh, that's bleak. That kind of horror story leads us to a really disturbing realization, doesn't it? A lot of these invasions happen when we intentionally mess with nature's defenses.
Yeah, either through carelessness or by deliberately breaking down geographic barriers. Which brings us neatly to our second category, human folly and accidental releases.
Let's stick with the Great Lakes for a minute. After the zebra mussels, they had another catastrophe, right? The sea lamprey.
Oh, yes. The sea lamprey. It's this parasitic, sort of eel-like fish native to the Atlantic Ocean.
So how did it get into the freshwater Great Lakes?
Well, it managed to move up the St. Lawrence River into Lake Ontario naturally. But for ages, Niagara Falls acted as a perfect natural barrier, protecting the upper Great Lakes, Erie, Huron, Michigan, Superior.
Okay, so what was the blunder?
We built a bypass. Improvements to the Welland Canal, which was built for shipping commerce, essentially created a staircase for fish around Niagara Falls.
Oh,
Yep. It granted these parasitic nightmares immediate access to the entire Great Lakes chain. And they've been wreaking havoc on commercial fish populations, like trout and salmon, ever since. They latch on and just drain the life out of fish.
a classic case of unintended consequences from infrastructure.
Textbook. Another classic blunder involves failed farming ventures. Think about the nutria, or koipu.
Nutria.
Okay.
That's the big swamp rat-looking things.
That's them. Large, semi-aquatic rodent from South America. They were brought to the U.S. starting in the late 1800s for fur and for meat.
Okay, another attempt to farm something new.
Right. But interest in nutria fur and meat declined pretty sharply around the 1940s. So what happened? Farmers either accidentally let them escape, or in some cases just deliberately released them into the wild when the business wasn't profitable anymore.
And now they're a problem.
A huge problem, especially in wetlands like Louisiana. They decimate aquatic plants, eating the roots and all. This leads to massive erosion, turning marshes into open water. Their burrowing habits also damage human infrastructure, levees, bridges, roadbeds, culverts.
They literally undermine things.
They do. Plus, they can carry parasites, like a roundworm that contaminates water and can cause nutria itch in people. Just an all-around disaster.
Okay, if we're talking about human error leading to invasive species, We kind of have to talk about Florida, don't we?
Oh, Florida.
Mm.
If there is an Olympic Games for generating invasive species through human error, Florida would probably sweep the medals.
Yeah.
You could frame this whole section as the exotic pet ecosystem collapse.
It really does feel like a sandbox for exotic species gone wild. The warm climate helps, I guess. No cold winters to knock things back.
Exactly. Take the green iguanas. They started showing up in the wild around the 1960s. Why? People bought them as cute little pets. Then they grew too big, sometimes up to 2 meters long.
2 meters.
Yeah, they get huge. And once they hit about 60 centimeters, maybe 2 feet, they basically have no natural predators left in Florida. So their populations exploded. It got so bad, they've literally declared open season on them in some areas.
Okay.
Pretty much. Then you have the Burmese pythons. Similar story. Started as released or escaped pets.
Right, the giant snakes.
But their situation got massively amplified by Hurricane Andrew back in 1992. The storm destroyed a large python breeding facility near the Everglades.
Oh, releasing hundreds of them.
Exactly. Straight into prime habitat. And the impact has been devastating. They've essentially wiped out huge percentages of native mammal populations in the Everglades. Rabbits, foxes, bobcats, raccoons. Their numbers have crashed, almost gone in some areas.
And they even fight alligators, right? I've seen pictures.
They do. These epic battles between pythons and gators. Often both animals end up dead. It's just ecological chaos. And now, believe it or not, there's evidence of Nile crocodiles starting to show up.
Wait, Nile crocodiles? From Africa? The ones that kill like 200 people a year there?
Those are the ones, again, almost certainly from the exotic pet trade.
Yeah.
Someone's pet got too big or escaped. It's just relentless.
It's not just reptiles either, is it? Florida has primate problems too.
Oh, yeah. Rhesus macaques, monkeys from Asia. They were intentionally introduced back in the 1930s and 40s by a guy who owned a glass-bottom boat tour in Silver Springs Park
Why would he do that?
to boost business. He thought monkeys would attract tourists. He released them onto an island, thinking they couldn't swim. Turns out they're great swimmers.
Oh, dear.
So they escaped the island, their population ballooned, they started destroying vegetation, and their waste dramatically increased E. coli levels in the Silver River. Another blunder.
And we can't talk about blunders without mentioning the most famous one recently, the cocaine hippos.
Ah, yes. Pablo Escobar's hippos in Colombia. Not Florida, but the same pattern.
Yeah.
Imported by the drug lord for his private zoo in the 1980s. After his death, the estate fell into disrepair. The hippos escaped into the Magdalena River system, and, well,
They started breeding?
they started breeding. Now there's a large growing population of wild hippos in Colombia. The scale of the potential ecological threat is immense. And again, entirely self-inflicted human folly.
Wow. Okay, that brings us to our final and maybe the most cautionary category, the ill-advised intentional releases. This is where we actually introduce a species on purpose, trying to solve one problem.
And end up creating a catastrophe, orders of magnitude larger. It's the law of unintended consequences in bright flashing lights.
The absolute classic example has to be the cane toad in Australia.
Textbook case. Introduced deliberately in the 1930s. The idea was they would eat cane beetles, which were pests attacking the valuable sugarcane crops.
Did they eat the beetles?
Oh, they ate the beetles, all right, but they also ate pretty much everything else they could fit in their mouths. Native insects, spiders, other frogs, even small snakes and bird eggs.
Okay, so not exactly targeted pest control.
Not even close. And the killer blow, cane toads are highly poisonous. Their skin secretes a potent toxin. So native Australian predators, snakes, lizards, birds of prey that tried to eat them, they died.
So the toads had no natural predators in their new home.
None. Which basically guaranteed their population would just keep growing and spreading, which it has done relentlessly across northern and eastern Australia. We disrupted the balance, thought we were being clever, and now Australia's paying the price.
This applies just as much to plants too, right? Kudzu.
Ah, kudzu, the vine that ate the South. Another intentional introduction. It was actually gifted by Japan to the U.S. at the Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia back in 1876. Promoted later for erosion control, believe it or not.
And the outcome?
It just grows incredibly fast, up to a foot a day in ideal conditions. It climbs over everything, trees, buildings, telephone poles, and smothers all the plants underneath by blocking out sunlight. Total domination.
It's not always about aggressive growth either. Sometimes it's more subtle disruption, like coconut palms.
Right. We think of them as iconic tropical scenery, but in places like Australia, coconut palms are actually non-native invaders along shorelines.
How are they invasive?
They push out the native, often low-lying, dense coastal vegetation. Those native plants are really good at holding sand and soil together. Coconut palms, with their tall, thin trunks, don't offer nearly the same kind of protection against storm surges and wind.
So they actually lead to more erosion during storms.
Exactly. More ground erosion during heavy weather, which makes the coastline more vulnerable, is changing the physical structure of the coast.
Okay, another disastrous intentional release happened in Hawaii, right? With the mongoose.
Oh, Hawaii. Yeah, the mongoose.
Yeah.
Introduced there in the 1880s,
Mm-hmm.
again by the sugarcane industry, they had a problem with invasive rats eating the sugarcane.
So they thought, let's bring in something to eat the rats.
Precisely. They brought in the small Asian mongoose. The problem was, rats are primarily nocturnal, active at night. Mongooses are primarily diurnal, active during the day.
Uh-oh. So they weren't very effective at controlling the rats.
Not really.
Yeah.
But you know what they were effective at eating? Hawaii's native, ground-nesting birds, insects, snails, reptiles, many of which had evolved with no mammalian predators and were completely defenseless.
So the mongoose caused many native Hawaiian populations to crash.
Absolutely devastating impact. Another case of trying to solve one invasive problem by introducing another potential invader without fully understanding the ecology. And it's not just, North America and Australia suffering from this cycle. Sometimes species we think of as native here become invaders elsewhere.
Like what?
The brush-tailed possum from Australia.
Yeah.
Cute free marsupial, right?
Yeah, iconic Australian animal.
Well, European settlers introduced it to New Zealand back in the 1850s. They wanted to establish a fur trade and maybe have them for food.
Okay. And how did that turn out in New Zealand?
Catastrophically. Fast forward 150-odd years. These possums, which also happen to carry bovine tuberculosis, now number in the tens of millions in New Zealand. They have absolutely devastated the native forests and unique wildlife, especially the flightless birds that evolved without ground predators.
Tens of millions. Wow. Completely overwhelming the ecosystem.
Totally. So, okay, let's try and connect the dots here. We've seen these different pathways, sneaky stowaways on ships and cargo,
Human carelessness, like escaped pets or failed farms.
and these incredibly poor planning decisions with intentional biological control.
Right. It seems clear that invasive species are fundamentally a human-created problem. We've essentially built a world without borders for organisms, haven't we?
We really have. And the critical insight here, I think, isn't just about the species themselves, like the cane toad or the python. It's the fact that through our actions, building canals, global shipping, farming non-native species, the exotic pet trade, we have systematically messed up the natural balance.
We've removed the checks and balances.
Exactly. We've removed the specific predators or the environmental constraints that would have kept these invaders in check in their new homes. The new environment often lacks the natural controls found in the species' native range.
And that lack of natural control is why we end up resorting to these aggressive, expensive management strategies now, isn't it?
It is. We saw how biological control attempts, like the mongoose and the cane toad, failed catastrophically.
Yeah.
So when you talk about current strategies, whether it's organizing python hunts in Florida or dropping poisons on remote islands to kill rats,
Yeah.
we have to ask ourselves a pretty profound question.
Which is?
Are we just repeating the same old mistake, the intentional release blunder, maybe just with slightly better technology and perhaps slightly better motives this time?
Trying to control one intervention with another intervention. We're constantly looking for ways to correct these ecological disasters we've caused. But if our history is kind of defined by trying to solve one problem by, as you said, throwing another animal at it or another chemical or another control method,
Yeah.
where does this cycle of human intervention truly end?
Yeah. What are the ethical limits of managing this world that we've already transformed so profoundly?
It feels like a question of perpetual intervention versus,
Right.
stepping back. Can we even do that now?
That's the dilemma. If we are the primary cause of the imbalance, how do we responsibly manage the consequences? Do we withdraw and hope nature can somehow recover on its own, even with these established invasives? Or do we have an obligation to double down on management, essentially becoming permanent gardeners of the planet?
A really complex thought to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.